frontier. This is Football Daft with Stephen Purden,
midfield dynamo and average actor,
Chris Toll,
target man, suspicious character,
and
with the top end of Stevenson, Grado!
Welcome to Football Daft. This is the daftest Scottish football podcast around, and let's welcome the team. First is a man who, well, Toll, I'll let you explain yourself. How are you feeling, my man? How's life? How are you?
Do you know what, mate? I've been on the phone with the police and Nicola Sturgeon since Sunday afternoon, trying to get as many of you bastards behind bars as I can.
Is that why Bob's no here today? Is he
No,
himself?
actually, it's a pure coincidence. He's actually away for an interview for the Good Morning Britain job.
Yeah, I thought he was away filming River City. He's away in River. Didn't he shoot into River City? But he's not. He's down south.
He's
right.
not, and plus he's a Celtic fan in River City, so.
Oh, that's right. His hero is Henrik Larsson, isn't it? I remember watching that back in the day and always thinking that he was a Celtic fan. Anyway, Toll, how did you find out that the Rangers became the champions at the weekend?
Well, I'm going to tell you a story, right? We're back filming for ICW, right? So we're in the venue. It comes time for my part on the show. Toll comes out with his new protege, Saki Bali.
That sounds good, that, by the way.
Walked down to the ring. Zakib gets into the ring, starts his match. So we're a good 5 minutes into the match. The next thing, referee Sean McLaughlin lets out a fucking roar in the middle of the match. Lets out a roar. Right now, see if there's any person that I don't want to be with when Rangers win the league, it's fucking Sean McLaughlin. Do you know what I mean? You see, an archetypal dyed-in-the-wool blue nose, as big a Rangers fan as you'll ever meet. A great guy, by the way. I have to admit, a great guy. But if I could have chose anybody, I would have took any other referee on the planet. I'd have took fucking Willie Collum. Do you know what I mean? But so that was how I found out. That was
the question I've got to ask you though, Chris, is
yes.
How does Sean know that Rangers won the league in the middle of wrestling?
Because
a wrestling match.
The referees have got earpieces.
Oh, right.
Was he actually in the ring?
He was in the ring. When it happened,
Brilliant.
man. But it's do you know what? He's have waited a long time for it, so I've got to take my medicine. I dish it out. So I've got to take it, fair enough. I don't have any problems with taking a wee bit of that.
Just a day away at some point in this interview, or should I say this podcast, for you to go full moonhowling Sevco.
Well, do you know what? We've got Peter Grant coming on, so me and Peter might end up fucking having a wee Tim bash while you're sitting in the corner. Do you know what I mean?
Well, do you know what, Toll? That was the idea that me and John had for this week's guest before. The Rangers have won the league. We'll soften the blow for the wee man and bring on one of his heroes. But we need to find out, was Peter Grant one of the players that used to buy you sweeties in John Menzies back in the day when you followed the Celtic run about Europe?
I'll tell you something, mate. Not only that, I've known Peter for years, but his wife's actually a good family friend of ours.
Obviously.
I've known Lorraine since I was knee high to myself. That's how long I've known Lorraine. Do you know what I mean?
Brilliant. What did you make of the old Celtic tweet at the weekend? Or should I say it was actually a couple of days ago? What did you make of that? I thought it was a parody account too. I've got to admit, I had to do my double check and I thought, surely no.
I know exactly what you mean. My problem with it is they've done it at the wrong time, right? They've also, the reason that they've done it at the wrong time is because they claim to be not half of anything when they've just fucking renewed the copyright for Old Firm. So make your mind up. They're saying one thing behind closed doors and then they're coming out and it reeks to me a double standards and also trying to take the fans for idiots.
But then does it appeal to, is it kind of, because I've seen it, I mean, Dominic Diamond, who's on Twitter, he's writing about it, loving it, going, this is the best thing Celtic have said all season. I'm going, well, it has all been happy birthday messages all week, all year, do you know what I mean? But
by the way, Dominic Diamond's a balaclava half going to jail, do you know what I mean? So, we'll leave Dominic's comments out yet, but I can see why people would attach themselves to it. You know, we've had a terrible season. The club hasn't done anything that the fans have asked them to do. And, you know, it's just, there'll be people grabbing onto it just because that it's something to grab onto, to be honest with you. What I'm looking forward to, see all of this tit for tat pish that's going on now. See, once the stadium's open again, it's going to be fucking bedlam. It's going to be bedlam once it starts up again. I cannot wait, honestly.
Hey, I know you're saying bedlam between Rangers and Celtic, but I don't even think. I mean, I think pre-season friendlies, if we get to, it's going to be carnage.
There'll be fucking flares at Rangers reserves versus Albion Rovers.
Correct.
You know what I mean? I really am looking forward to it. I think once it comes back, everybody's going to have their appetite back for Scottish football. You know, you're not going to be able to get a ticket for a game, and that's the truth. You know, like even every team, see that first game where the stadiums are open back. Can you imagine? Every stadium in Scotland is going to be packed, and eventually it's going to have a good impact on Scottish football. I just hope we can get there sooner rather than later.
We'll get to talk about Aberdeen later on. We'll have Paul Harper, I believe, is going to be coming on the open line. Is that right, John?
Yep, that's right.
And Pure Radio host, you might have heard him in back today in Real Radio. I actually hosted Football Daft with him, in between you and leaving and you coming in. He's always good to find out how he feels about the Dons. Derek McInnes leaving the club. What do you think about that, mate?
Well,
favourites include Stephen Glass and Maloney.
Right. See if Sean Maloney's getting named for Aberdeen. There's definitely some truth to the link with Celtic, I think. But I've got a theory about Derek McInnes, and do you know what? I'm going to leave it until we speak to Paul later on in the show, and I'll tell you exactly what I think.
John hasn't wrote this down. He usually puts down notes for the biggest things that have happened in Scottish football. You've actually missed something there, John, because it was announced just 48 hours ago. Ricky Little, star of Arbroath, the Arbroath FC captain, has been given a 2-year deal with Arbroath, and that's going to take him to a total of 10 years at the Smokies. So
that's a testimonial.
That's a testimonial. That's the first thing I says, and they're asking me if I'm going to come.
You'll get to play in it.
I want a game. So big shout out to my good friend Richard Little, who is no doubt going to go down as one of Arbroath's greatest ever legends. Any thoughts, Stoke?
Well, you know something. See, for somebody that's got such a close friend in Ricky Little, how the fuck has he never been on this show, Grado?
I think you have tried to get him as a... Ricky's not that kind of guy. He's too professional, man. He's got... He's too professional for all this kind of carry on. This is so? Aye.
Come on, I don't know. Do you know what? I'll give him a wee message. Might get him on again next week.
Did you not try and get him on before?
I did, but Dick Campbell put the kibosh on it.
Because
they get hammered off of somebody the weekend that he was supposed to be coming on, and Dick Campbell's read them the Riot Act, telling them that they all think they're prima donnas, they all think they're this or that, and the next thing, and he's like, if I go on a podcast, I'm going to get you toe up my arse. Yeah, but do you know what? Never say never, Grado. Never say never.
Tidy. I look forward to that day. So more football chat, no doubt, on the open line later on. And the big question this week is, we ask you, what's your greatest ever footballing achievement? And our big guest this week, he's a man that's loved by Celtic supporters all over the world, and others just love to hate him. It's the Hoops legend himself, Mr. Peter Grant. Football Daft, it wouldn't be possible without our great sponsors, G4 Claims, and who else to get on the show to talk about G4 Claims. It's the top cheese for the company herself. Nicole, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Oh, we are superb.
I've been
good.
Tools had a hard week, but listen, we're looking for some advice on why we should go to G4 Claims if we've ever been involved in an accident.
Brilliant, guys. Well, do you know what? I've actually got a wee example for you this week.
Ooh.
So I got a customer from Football Daft, obviously no names given, protecting everybody here, but someone had actually been listening to us on the road. They gave us a wee phone. They actually had been involved in an incident with a pothole and decided, you know what, I'm going to give them a phone and ask the question. It was about 7 p.m. at night. He phoned me on my mobile. I took the guy's call. I went through everything with him, and he's actually managed to have his car all fixed and returned back to him in less than a week. The guy is delighted with the service and he heard about us on Football Daft. So, like I say, every single week, know that not everybody's listening, but I say it every week anyway. If you've been involved in any sort of accident, please phone us first, because if I can help you, I 100% will. And I'll answer the phone anytime to get you back in the road and make sure you're looked after. So please look us up. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. If you're involved in an accident, give us a phone. I can help you. I can point you in the right direction if I can. We can provide you with a like-for-like replacement vehicle if your car's off the road. We can get your car recovered if you're at the roadside. We can get your car repaired and approved if it's a repair, or if your car's written off, we'll get the money back for your pre-accident value that you're happy with, and make sure that you're totally looked after. And the best part is my services to you are totally free. We bill everything to the person's insurance who's at fault for the accident. So go for it, guys. Look us up. Phone us 01698 767 172. It's Nicole, it's G4 Claims, and it's not at fault claims. They're made easy.
Made easy.
There we go.
Welcome to the Football Daft Open Line. This is the open line where anything goes, of course. Ask the questions: who should be Aberdeen's next manager? Can Rangers go unbeaten this season, Grado?
Well, it's another challenge for us, isn't it? We've kind of...
You won't be asking that question after the 21st of March.
There you go.
All right,
they're started already. And is there a difference? A big question you've got to ask is there a difference between a carpenter and a joiner? Who knows?
Do you know what? That is a good question.
It is a good question.
I've always wondered that.
There we go. Well, you can ask that on the.
And what's a blacksmith? What's a blacksmith?
He does metal. Jesus was a carpenter, of course, not a joiner. So, there you go. Anyway, but we'll maybe get to that. As usual, we have our panel of football experts, as you heard there. We have Graham Guidi and Chris Delhunt. We're missing Stephen Keevins this week. Let's go to our first caller, who's on to talk about Aberdeen. He's actually been on Football Daft before hosting the show.
He was a host?
It is Pure Radio's Paul Harper.
Oh, hello there.
Oh, hello there.
So Paul's on to talk about Aberdeen, obviously, in the search for a new manager. Paul, what have you made of the whole Derek McInnes situation? Who do you want?
So I wanted him to go a couple of years ago. And this has divided the support for a long time. It felt like time was up. But when's the last time a football manager ever left a club and it was perfectly harmonious? It never happens. But it did feel like that was the time. But they gave him this new, I think it was a 3-year deal. And it's just not been, like, we've got to cup finals and things have been sort of restored back to respectable. And I know we came up against the hardest Celtic team, and Rangers weren't in the league and Hearts weren't in the league for a lot of the time that Aberdeen were doing better. But it was time for a change.
I've got a theory on this.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been sounded out about the Scotland job, and I think Clark's going to Celtic.
Well, that's an interesting one. I mean, the first thing that pops into my mind is the story that's in the press today that Stephen Pressley has thrown his hat into the ring for the Aberdeen job. Did you see that?
I was fucking throwing it straight back out.
Well, it was funny because Jamie Langfield quote tweeted it. And it was like, he says, well, if that's the case, I'm throwing my bonnet in, I know. You know what I mean?
No, thank you. Look, no, we do not want the brand Presley anywhere near Aberdeen. There's some funny stuff going on. Have you heard of Ross Nicholson, who's 10-1 on Sky Bet? So
is this a geezer? You'll probably be able to explain to us, but he's just our punter and his pals have kind of got him to the bookies chart. Is this right?
They made a Wikipedia page for their and they put him that his current team is called Disney Exist, and Sky Bet saw it and made him 10-1. He's tied with Paul Hartley, Alec McLeish, and Paul Sheeran.
I'm sure, right? Without
McLeish is a great shout for Aberdeen, I think.
Well, do you know what? I was thinking that as well. But I mean, how does, as an Aberdeen fan, I know quite a lot of times if players wind up at Rangers, a lot of Aberdeen fans can't take that. But surely with Alex McLeish, that's not the case, is it?
I actually, if you were to say Alec McLeish, I didn't even think of Rangers there at all.
Right, there you go.
All I thought was, like, see when you have club legends, they can go terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Mark McGee, man, what a disaster. The guy was an amazing footballer for Aberdeen, part of that 83 side, pinged in the cross. But, man, is that guy a bitter prick. And he started it wrong by when he arrived at Aberdeen. The first thing he said was, "Oh well, I didn't get the Celtic job, so Alec McLeish." No, Grado, honestly, I wouldn't even think of Rangers when you mention Alec McLeish. I think Scotland.
That just makes me even more embarrassed about what I said to him that night at some kind of charity do. And I think about it now, I totally wince, man.
What did you say?
All right, Mark.
You go, mate. Right, okay, clang. Do you know what I mean? But he sure I was going like that to him while we were talking about the results and the fact by the Scottish. I think Aberdeen won. And I'm going, you don't still look out for the Aberdeen results, do you? And he was like, of course I do. And I just know that way I thought, of course he fucking looks for Aberdeen's results. Do you know what I mean? And I just felt like Daft, man.
You know who I'm not totally against, because I think it would be exciting. But I know that I'm just going to say it. Neil Lennon.
I knew you were going to say that there. I knew you were going to say that there.
No way do you want Lennon.
Listen, you don't want him anywhere near your club. I'm fucking telling you that right now.
Look what he done with Hibs. Did he do well with Hibs? I can't fucking remember, did he?
He got them promoted, didn't he? But look what happened after it. Do you know what I mean? You can't get Aberdeen promoted.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. You can't, but I think that Lennon would. He's one of these ones, right, that you all hate when he's not with you. And I imagine it's like all those players, like Paul Hartley, man. See the abuse that we used to give Paul Hartley or Willow Flood or any of these, and then they come and play for you, and all of a sudden, we're rocking. But with Lennon, I think there'd be Hibs were great. He did a lot of good with Hibs. Then, of course, he called them all pricks and slagged off Leanne Dempster. And, did he not have a square go with, was it Canberry?
Canberry,
Is that who you had? Right.
Who's now at Aberdeen.
There you go.
Well, that probably rules Neil Lennon.
So you're saying Neil Lennon for Aberdeen then, Paul, yeah?
No, I'm just saying I wouldn't be totally against it.
Right, okay.
What about some of these managers that are doing well in the SPL now? The likes of your
how about Martindale?
And you've got Jim Goodwin as well.
Jim Goodwin. I don't know what the chat is with Martindale. I've met him. Me and John have been over to Livingston and had a kickabout with him, and I like him, but I think there's a bit too much, going around about him.
Come on, that's no fair, is it?
Allegedly.
No, but no, I'm just saying that it's like are they not still doing a is he fit and proper thing right now?
That's passed.
Oh, well, fine, get him in then.
Listen, we've got him on the show next week. I'm going to tell him about you. He'll be at your door.
What about
the first words out of my mouth were he's a good guy, eh, John? They were the day we went to Livingston was tremendous.
Yeah, no,
listen, don't try to backtrack, right? We know what you said.
You got it on tape.
what about Robinson? Stephen Robinson?
No, thanks.
No.
Jim Goodwin. If you're taking anyone,
Jim Goodwin.
So who would be your if you could have anybody realistically? Who would you go for?
He's wanting Lennon.
I don't know.
I think he's that's it. The seed's well and truly planted in him.
Do you want Neil Lennon with Scott Brownie as his assistant and John Kennedy as the bookman? Because I can make it happen.
Here's my question, and we've all been talking about this in the group chats. So the big chat was always, oh look, if you don't want Derek McInnes, who do you want? I don't have my heart set 100% on anyone. Like, it's such a big appointment because we've got the new chairman, who is clearly more hands-on than Stuart Milne. And there's a lot of chat about how Stuart Milne and Derek McInnes were best pals. McInnes was able to do anything he wanted at the club. And when Milne left and Dave Cormack came in, the Aberdeen billionaire, who, by the way, actually is a billionaire, he's been more hands-on and he's made lots of different changes. And, he gave Derek McInnes backing at Christmas to make lots of signings. It's not worked out. We are on a terrible run. Should he have been given more time? I don't think so. This is the chat that's been dividing Aberdeen fans for years. All right, if it's not him, who do you want? Do you not remember the Mark McGee years? I honestly would take just some more exciting football, because at the moment it's boring. McInnes ran out of ideas.
I'm in exactly the same boat as you, Paul, because I just want something fresh and new at my club, and that seems to be what you're alluding to there just now. You want something fresh, you want something exciting.
Yeah.
But is there a fear, Paul, that you're not going to get anybody as good as what McInnes was, even though you weren't getting the results that you wanted? You were getting fed up watching his foot. But is there that fear? Obviously.
Oh, there must be. You can't say that there's not anyone in the world that can't do better than what we've been doing. But this is like 8 years. 8 years is too long for anyone to play as a manager in Scotland, I think.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? 8 years in any job.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right. See, what about this? Who's this billionaire? Does he fancy setting up a wee wrestling company with us? Yeah, Tony Khan, man. Come on, what's his name?
Dave Cormack. He's and he
Is he on Facebook?
Adam Grado.
Get him on LinkedIn. No, but listen, what's happening with the stadium and stuff like that? Is the stadium still going ahead? Or?
And I've got one question as well, by the way, after you finish that.
No, so they built the training ground already, which is called Cormack Park. So before Dave Cormack became the chairman, he'd done it in a few million quid. And
he's definitely up for running a wrestling company. He's a big mark for himself if he's naming fucking training grounds after himself.
There you go.
I want in on the ground floor, Grado.
The first promotion needs to be in Aberdeen. Or the Beach Ballroom or something.
The Beach Ballroom, mate. It's my favourite venue.
Can he, mate? That's
fucking love it.
No, that's WrestleZone's. That's WrestleZone's.
We don't want to step in their toes. Don't want to step in WrestleZone's toes.
So we'll do Inverness or something.
I hope they do the new stadium closer to the beach. There was a lot of talk recently that the city actually want to give up some land because a bunch of hotels and things closed down right by Cadona's, like down where the buses park when you're coming up for away games. So there might be a chance that they can build a new ground there.
We've got a few Rangers fans that listen to this podcast. They'll probably be interested on your opinions of Ross McCrory's season at Aberdeen. How has he coped?
Not the question that you're going to ask.
What is it?
Yeah. He's good. I like him.
He is good.
Yeah. But he's gone off the boil, right? Even, like, I couldn't believe that we managed to... What did we do? Rangers effectively cancelled the payment for... You got Scott Wright.
Mm-hmm.
And effectively, it worked out as a swap or something. Aberdeen were owed Rangers money for Ross McCrory, 200,000 or 300,000 for developmental fees or something. And Aberdeen and Rangers just came to a deal where it was like, okay, no money swaps right now if you get Scott Wright before.
So is he now officially an Aberdeen player?
I think that happened in January. I think that was part of the deal.
The loan's finished. An Aberdeen player now.
That means I can like him now, right? That's good. That's good.
Right, well, Paul, thank you very much for coming on the open line today and giving your thoughts on Aberdeen. You can catch Paul on the wireless, Pure Radio, one of our Grado's rivals, every day.
Wait, Grado, what do you think about Pure Radio?
I'm not saying nothing because he'll end up dubbing me in some thing. I'm saying nothing, man. Cool.
Thanks for coming on, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Let's move on to our next caller on the open line. It is Ricky, who is on to plug something he is doing with Macmillan called The Sessions. Ricky, welcome to the open line. What are you on to say, my friend?
Cheers, John. Just want to talk about the Macmillan Cancer Support Weekend that we've got going on In Your Ears Radio this weekend. So over the 13th and 14th of March, we've got a load of acoustic sessions coming on. There's a sort of live Zoom party on a Saturday night where people can do this sort of thing, get smashed and have a laugh. And then on the Sunday night, there's going to be a quiz as well. And it's all in aid of Macmillan Cancer Support, so you can donate via a link on the In Your Ears Radio, In Your Ears Music Twitter page.
Brilliant. So what is it? Is it a whole weekend sort of idea thing?
Aye. We've got a load of bands in that they've all sent their acoustic sets in. And it's going to be for 12 o'clock on Saturday and then 10 o'clock in the morning Sunday. And it's just going to go all day.
Brilliant. And I take it it's just a matter of folk listening in at the time, donating and stuff like that. Is there a link?
Aye, that's what it is. You just get folk to listen into the station. It's an online station, so that's inyourearsmusic.com. Right. Or if you look at their Twitter or their Facebook or that, there's an app you can download to listen to as well.
Brilliant. Well, what we do, we'll put that up on our social media channels. Ricky, you're a football
Amazing,
man.
thanks.
You're a football man. Who do you support?
I'm a Celtic fan, so I was
Yeah.
going to tell
Oh, good to see you. How are you?
A fucking beauty.
Where's Bob?
Oh, he's
away
flying the
he's-
flag
he's
and
up-
Shield Inch today.
He's
Aye,
away
he's still
applying for the
recovering
job.
for-
He's away applying for the
Recovering for
job.
George Square.
Still recovering for George Square.
Who do you want as the next manager, Ricky? That's what we're asking every Celtic supporter that comes on.
I would like Eddie Howe. I think he's got a good rep and he's going to bring through the youngsters and develop a squad.
Yes.
It's not a quick fix, but I do think he can take on a project and build it for there.
Yes. Absolutely.
Right. Well, listen, we'll keep our ear out for that, and we'll make sure we listen in. And Las Vegas are involved as well, Ricky, aren't they?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, Las Vegas are on my set. They're on Sunday between 2 and 4. I've got them along with quite a lot of other guys. Mainly Scottish acts on my set.
That's
So
quite good.
PG Charlettas on there, Paolo. Who else? Can't remember off the top of my head. But there is
What about the Heights? Are they knowing it now?
Heights aren't on it, no. It was
No.
because of Heights I thought I would get in touch with you, to be honest with you.
If we know,
I thought you've had Heights on, I might as well give you a shout to see if, he's also into music.
Absolutely.
Football
Love-
music
love-
go hand
love
in
our
hand.
music as well.
100%, mate. And I love. Will there be loads of covers?
Aye, there is. There's a good load of covers. So check that.
you
Do
out.
you know what you should? Do you know what you should do after it if the bands give you permission? See
Aye.
the cover versions that they do. You should put them together and put them onto an album and punt it for Macmillan.
Well, Chris, that's a great idea. I'm going to suggest that to the gaffer.
There
See what
you
he says.
go.
And
Aye,
I request
listen,
like a
listen.
prayer acoustic versions. Could that be? No.
Aye.
Right.
Not
Aye,
just-
we've got over 60 sets over the weekend, so it's
Say
pretty
that.
massive.
Brilliant. That's exciting, mate. That's
You
good.
could-
That's a
you
great
could
cause,
do,
man.
You could do 6 volumes. Oh,
Aye.
by the way, we'll have eradicated cancer by the end of this, my man.
I know, we don't know a day. COVID will still be around, but cancer will be around.
Well, check out In Your Ears Radio this weekend and support Ricky and the team over there. Ricky, thanks for coming on the open line, pal.
No worries. Thanks for
All
having
the
me.
best, Ricky, mate.
Thanks,
Good luck
Ricky.
with that weekend, man.
Cheers, my man.
Cheers, boys. See you later.
Cheers, my man.
And let's go on to our final caller on the open line today. It is Craig, who's a Rangers supporter.
But there we
There
go.
we
Tidy,
go.
man.
There we go. What's happening, boys?
Tidy. What you saying to it, Biggin?
Not much, mate. How's things?
As I say, having a great week.
Aye,
Top of the world. Loving
Can't
Can't get any
life.
better, can it? No.
Brilliant.
fucking magic, mate. Loving every minute of life, innit? Aye.
Too sick. Too sick.
Sitting with
But
that Celtic tap on still.
Aye.
man.
Yeah, too.
Fucking better believe it, my man.
And he's and he's over.
Listen,
No,
do you
just
want me here? Do you want me to teach you the words to that?
Well, Stevie, is he still mad with it?
That's the story. I think that's the story. We'll stick to that then. Aye, he's mad, but he's still rough with George Square, as everybody keeps coming over and saying.
Oh, my chest is knackered for it.
Craig, what do you want to say on the open line this week?
Just a question for Grado, because I thought Stevie would be on, but mad with it still. Think tonight, Rangers, think we'll get brought back down to earth a wee bit tonight?
Well, here, that's what I'm worried about, right? Because I don't know if I said this in Rangers staff, but our fan base we're quite bad for. If we drop points tonight or we don't play as good as we probably should. I'm fearing in case a lot gets blamed at the weekend.
Good luck in dropping points in the Europa League.
You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Fuck's sake, though. But, you know what I mean? I can see everybody turning around and saying they shouldn't have drank 2 times at the weekend. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But
by the way, it was a hell of a session that they had on all. By the way,
see the Nicky McGregor and Jack's not on the squad tonight. I don't think, but sometimes you wonder as well. Quite a lot that must be teetotal, but.
Didn't he fucking look like it?
Well, I was trying to look at the cans, man. I'm like, is that light made or fucking?
There ain't any of the Beck's non-alcohol ones in there.
Aye. So I don't know, but the good thing about the night is, I think we just get to enjoy it. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what, it's not often this happens. I want Rangers to win. I really do.
Oh, here we go, man.
Right now, I'll tell you for why. Right,
Gee whiz.
Right, because see if Rangers get through this round, right, and the 2 Ukrainian mobs struggle, the season after next, Scotland gets an automatic group place in the Champions League. So it does. So purely for the coefficient reasons, because I know Celtic are going to win the league next season. We'll go straight into the Champions League group stages.
He's a good laugh too, isn't he, man?
So I honestly think we'll go on day 5 in a row now.
I'm saying 6.
I don't think
you know what? I'll be honest with you. I think this is your Leicester season. I think Celtic will go on another run after this season.
Think so?
Brilliant.
Aye, I do.
Well, we will wait and see.
Love the confidence. Love the confidence.
But see the night, as I said, there's
just lie right to your face.
I think the night it's a matter that, like, obviously in the last game, that fucking horrible first half we had where Tav was getting injured and stuff like that, and you're going, oh man, that's Europa League. But we're kind of, I don't know, there's just less pressure on it. Hopefully it'll be. And I think, by the way, after that weekend when they were all mad with it, it's a bit better game than to get right back into it than a Europa League game. So I think it's came at the right time for them. Anyway, Craig, all the best, Biggie, and I hope you enjoy.
Cheers, lads. Take care.
Take care,
Cheers,
man.
Craig. Speak to you soon.
Cheers later, boys. Bye-bye.
See you later, Craig. Thanks for coming on, mate.
And that's it for this week's open line. If you want to be on next week, dead easy to do that. Just jump on our Twitters at Football Daft Pod, or you can get us on our Patreon, patreon.com/Football Daft.
Football Daft's big question.
Whether it's taking Stennismuir to the Champions League in Football Manager or winning Player of the Year for the Under-12s at North Bromwich Colts, this week we thought we'd ask, what is your greatest footballing achievement? Now, me and Bob, you must get fed up with it till we talk about playing in that game at Ibrox, March 2018.
Oh, did you play at Ibrox, mate?
We did. As I say, I think folk maybe are getting pissed off listening to us talk about it, but I do want to. Apparently, John says I've spoken this before, but I would say up there with playing at Ibrox, I played at the very, very last game at Coning Rangers, Abbey Park, Buffs Park. I did play for it was a kind of Rangers v Celtic charity do, and in the last 5 minutes, you bear in mind that the amount of stuff I saw at that park every week in, week out, anytime Rangers were playing away.
You're treading the fucking hallowed ground that Jerry Polini played on.
Correct. Jerry, the other legends, Tommy Sloan, well, he's at Talbot now, so I don't see him as much as a legend as what I did. You've got Rusty Hartness.
These all sound like fucking names for some sort of American football movie.
Rusty Harkness, the quarterback.
There's Noggin Montgomery, David Sharkey. So these are the kind of players that I grew up watching. And
what was the name of the guy that your dad said about or wanted to say about again?
That would have been McClucky. Oh no, him that was at Kelly. Jim McClucky. No, what was his name?
Well, McSherry, was it no?
Jim McSherry. Was it no Jim McSherry?
Yeah, that was it.
Aye, Jim McSherry. Jim McSherry. Well, come into the vest room and speak like that to us, eh? Come into the vest room and speak to the boys like that, John. Aye. Great memories in the Buffs, however. I did get the chance to play. And again, through and go. I've no idea how I managed it. It's as if the players were letting me do it, right? But I did manage to get through. A couple of defenders, past the goalkeeper, only had the keeper to beat. Hits the shot, buffed, who comes in and stops my dream for heart, and none other than Tommy Sheridan. That is a
disaster.
It's a
catastrophe.
Correct. Anyway, Tom, what's your
my man, do you know what? I've only ever, obviously, my legs are like fucking elastic bands. Do you know what I mean? So,
even when you were a boy, did you play football?
I played for the school team and that sometimes. Trained with Dunbeth, but only ever played for Dunbeth once. But my one's getting sent off in that charity game, mate. Do you know what I mean? There's no many folk get sent off in a charity game. just like there's no many folk that get their photo taken with Snoop Dogg. You know what I mean? So there you go.
I can't keep calling you a mark for that, man, because I just make an ass of myself. But I was at that. Was I at that one, or was that the one the year before?
I think that was a year before. Because
you had Lennon and Sunison on that.
That was the one I played.
Who did you tackle to get sent off?
I stuck a head on Grado's right hand man on Scott Squad.
Manny,
stuck a head right on him. He went down like a deck of cards, as they say.
How did you stick the head on him?
You know that it doesn't need to be stick the head on somebody's head, right. John.
Okay.
Right. That's all we'll say.
Was he wearing shin pads?
His knees have been fucked ever since. But he was patting me in the head and ripping the piss at me a bit. So I just turned around and fucking gave him one. Unfortunately, the linesman flagged it up, and your old dad was giving his marching orders, but you know what? I came out and ended up playing for his team in the second half. So,
Bro, I bet you that was the best thing that happened that day, that game, by the way. I bet that was funny.
you know, that's why I was brought back for your game, mate.
Aye, that's right. So you were. What a day, man. Brilliant. What about John? What about you? Have you got any kind of footballing?
I've got a couple. I've got to once play on St James's Park when I was down working in Newcastle for the radio station. I got in a fight with the club doctor. Peter Beardsley absolutely skinned us all that day. And the other one,
I heard that you're actually the best player that's played in that pitch in the last 15 years.
Probably, aye. But my favourite one is, do you know the guy who's on the cover of the Arctic Monkeys album with the fag, the first Arctic Monkeys album? I nutmegged him, and I was playing a five-a-side game against him. Reverend and the Makers, because he was a roadie for Reverend and the Makers. And so the Big John from Reverend and the Makers, we were playing him at five-a-sides. It was XFM against Reverend and the Makers, and I nutmegged the boy off the front cover of the Arctic Monkeys album. How's that one?
Oh, fantastic. Your mother would be proud.
Just as well he never hurt you, because he could have been the heavyweight champion of the world. Hey! That's a wee Reverend and the Makers joke for these
trips. There you go. Anyway, let's get to what some of the listeners have been saying. Clark Griswold. Mate,
it's a character for
National Lampoons.
Oh, fuck. Right, okay. Scored an overhead kick, got excited, took the tap off to celebrate, and had a Pokemon shirt on underneath. 0-0.
Neil Renton says, getting a runners-up medal in a football tournament at Butlins in Ayr in about 1980. The fact I'm terrible is amazing. What made it an achievement was that they never had any pitches, so we played on an ice rink in our plimsolls. And that's what they say the start of Saving Private Ryan.
Brilliant, man. Douglas Harper says, scoring at Old Trafford in front of 60,000 fans. He says, I was the last Scotsman to score in a United shirt since Brian McClare until Darren Fletcher scored some years later. All right, it was a half-time penalty shootout as I worked for Vodafone, who were the sponsor.
Anthony Fitzpatrick says, getting for Athletic into Europa League on Football Manager.
Brilliant. Graham Heath says he played a seven-a-side Battle of the Bands tournament down in London. He got absolutely battered in every game. He says he walked into one of the many changing rooms afterwards to get out of the kit, and he found Justin Hawkins from the darkness sat alone in a pair of scuds and a wrestling belt. I asked him who he supports. He says Norwich. Can't pretend to know much about the darkness, so I told him I liked his Christmas tune and I thought that the Canaries looked a decent bet for promotion day.
I wonder if that was the season that Peter Grant was the manager.
I know.
He said Jamie McMillan says played for Goodyear Boys Club for years and won goalie of the year every season. I was the only keeper there, right enough. Couldn't give a fuck. Still swaggering up to collect my trophies.
Sean Innes says he scored a volley for the corner of the box into the back post when he was 17. He said he made his dad greet. He was that superb. Or he says sprinting past a defender and hearing, fuck me, the fat kid can run. Felt proud as fuck that day.
I heard that's what Tommy Sheridan said when you were through in goal. Kev says playing for AFC Christen in the under-18 Scottish Cup final at Hampden Park, but getting fucked 5-1. Although I scored and then carted out in an ambulance with a broken foot. Fucking hell, that must have been some shot.
Buff Can, he says, I scored in the semi-final for my boys' brigade, First Christen. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Two Christens. I've absolutely no idea what happened. The ball hit off me and went in a goal. I had never scored and didn't want to do so, so just stood there as the team all jumped on me. What the fuck? That sounds like somebody that hates football.
I know. I'd never scored, so I didn't know what to do. That's like somebody that's accidentally stabbed a cunt. Right, James E. Cotter says, as a just above average amateur footballer, I became a professional footballer in the Philippines age 30. I didn't last long, but appeared in an episode of FIFA Football Mondial.
That's a brilliant story. That's a brilliant story, isn't it?
How the hell do you end up playing professional football in the Philippines?
That's brilliant.
Jazz James, do you know what? We need to get Jamesy on the open line because that's Jamesy. Remember he did the song, The Only Fools and Horses song? He's
yes,
a supporter and he worked for Satanta.
So is this his gimmick name? Is this his gimmick name, or is he, you know?
No, that's it. I think that is on Twitter. But that's
his name's James E. Cotter.
You're joking? Really?
Right, we need to find out more about that. We'll get James on the open line next week. It's the player profile playoff with piesports.com. Try and say that after a few beers. Piesports.com give you the taste of Scottish football by delivering pies to your door. You can get all the fans' favourites: Scotch, steak and gravy, macaroni, curry pies. Toe, you're loving the Glasgow Oyster Pack. Did you order it?
Mate, forget about it. What a fucking scran that is.
Oh.
I'll tell you. The beans on top. I went for beans on top rather than the ketchup though.
Did you?
Oh, fucking hell, man.
So thanks to Ross and all the team over at spicesports.com, supplying pies right across Scotland. If you want to check out the website, you'll see all the packages they have up there, or you can give them a call on their SOS hotline, which is Sender Savouries 0141 739 9999, and they deliver pies free of charge to certain postcodes, so check out the website for details on that. Now, we have the chance every week on Football Daft to win a package of pies, and we get one of our listeners on to play against one of the boys, and this week we welcome Rangers supporter Andrew Blake. How you doing, Andrew?
Not too bad, guys. Yourself?
Good.
Oh, good, my man.
Good, thanks. Have you recovered after the title win last weekend?
Unfortunately, I was working on a Sunday, so.
Oh, you did you celebrate on the Monday then?
A wee bit, aye.
Standing in George Square yourself.
Aye, it might have been a policeman on Sunday.
Detail.
So you know how the game works, Andrew. I'm going to read out a player description. You've got to buzz in once you know the player. If you do buzz in, you'll lose out on your chance, and it's the first to two wins. Okay. So we need to hear your buzzer, Andrew. First of all.
I'll go for 55.
Right, there we go. Is there any preference in who you like to play? I'm going to flip a coin for it.
Whoever wants to win.
Right, no worries.
So surely you want to beat this boy.
Right. Heads for Toe, tails for Grado. And it is tails, so it's Grado.
Oh, Grad. There we go.
He's getting a bit...
You want, right,
but listen, this is because I'm on every week now, John. This is what happens.
Grado, do you want me to play him?
You choose, Andrew. Who do you want to play, Toe or Grado?
I'll go for a Toe.
You go for a Toe.
Thanks, mate. Because I'm kind of...
Right, pressure's off you this week.
Then Toe, look at Toe. As soon as Toe's adrenaline goes like that, as soon as
we're heading back to the late 90s this week. It's 97-98 where Celtic won the league. St Johnstone came up from the first division. Hibs, this was the season that Hibs got relegated.
Andrew, were you born yet, mate?
I was 2.
You were 2.
Oh, that's not
nice.
Dear.
Oh dear.
Saying that, I done well with the 91-92s when I was 88 born, so...
Well, hopefully you get a couple of the players that are in here. I'm just looking down. We'll give it a go though, Andrew. Right, okay. Let's start off with what's your buzzer, Chris?
Fuck's sake. I don't know. Toe.
Original. Brilliant.
I'm sorry, I couldn't think of something there, man.
Here we go. This first player coming out. Born in Angola, this enigmatic winger began his career. Chris.
Jose Katongo.
Correct. 1-0.
Wow, I would never got that.
Oh, wow. Right, here we go. Next player. Come on, Andrew. This is, if you were 2 years old, though, I can understand.
I know, I want to stress that.
Do you know who Jose Katongo was?
I've seen the guy with the shit in the flat in Spain.
Yes, that's exactly
the guy.
Who it was.
That story.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly who it was. Right, here we go. Next player here out the bag. This midfielder debuted for Hibs in this season after moving from Partick Thistle.
Toe.
Yeah, I know you're going to...
Check Chamley.
It is, mate. Well done. 2-0.
Well done, mate.
2-0. Sorry, Andrew.
Yes, I'm going for 55, you bastard.
2-0 Toe. Sorry about that, Andrew.
You know what, Andrew? So that you can celebrate a wee bit more, you can have the box of pies anyway.
Thanks very much, mate.
That's nice. Hands across the divide. That's what I like to see. Well done, Andrew. We'll get the pie sent to you. And remember, if you're looking for the taste of Scottish football, hit up piesports.com.
Welcome to Football Daft, a man who spent 15 years at the greatest football club that's ever been founded. He made over 400 appearances, picked up 2 league winners' medals and lifted the Scottish Cup 3 times. He's the current manager at Alloa. He is the one and only Mr. Peter Grant. Thanks for coming on, Peter.
Thank you very much, guys. It's a pleasure, always.
I need to jump in right now. I'm not going to question how you just introduced him, but we've got to do this every week, or it feels like every week. Toll will tell us about when he was a young boy growing up. He was a mascot, and all the players would buy him crunchies and sweeties for WH Smith. And me and Chelsea Bob got a right good laugh at it, right? With any Celtic player, he bought me a chomp at the airport in 1993 and all this, right? But what was funny was when you two just come on the air now, Peter. Peter, where that? How you doing, son? Long I've seen you in a long time. How are you keeping?
As if I was still sitting in the fucking departure line, do you know what I mean? But I've known Peter since I started going on the trips with Celtic, but I've actually known his wife since I was born. Lorraine was really good friends with my mum, and I've not seen her for years and years, right enough, but
You're a bad during this period for being up in Scotland. But it's COVID, not allowing us to see her.
That's it. But she's a lovely person, lovely family, and it's great to have you on, mate.
So have you ever bought my sweetie before, Peter? Have you ever?
Probably more than one. You know, we used to get at the shop. The wee man was in right behind us, so you knew what was coming next. You know, didn't know he was going second. I was talking about Joe Miller earlier on. The wee man wasn't far behind.
Listen, you got to take your opportunities when you can get them. No, I mean, he was on a footballer's wage. He could afford a chump.
But remember, it was Celtic I was playing for.
That's true, aye.
Hey, come on. 14 months to months, you forget that, don't you? You've had 14 months to months out of contract.
Probably just give me a Kit Kat out the biscuit tin.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Peter, how's things anyway? How's life?
No, listen, it's been difficult for everybody, obviously, and I'm happy with the team. We're working at Alloa, where the team's been playing. Obviously, the results have not been great. I can't hide for the fact of that in football and management. It's all about results. But I've always prided myself in the way the boys go about their business and the way they play and try to play. And I think the way we try to play is very difficult when you're not winning games because you've got to be confident. But great credit to the boys that have tried to do that. And listen, it's not a philosophy I have because I don't like the word. I just think with the players I have, it suits the players we have. And we've been a bit unfortunate at times. We've shot ourselves in the foot on a few occasions. But in general, I've been very, very pleased. And it's difficult, you know, as I say, for us being a part-time group because our boys, or some of them are obviously off work, working from home. But the biggest problem probably has been the fact that they can't get to the gym. So we're only getting 2 days a week, but you can't use a gym. So the strength and conditioning work they have to do away from us is not possible. And I think that sometimes that's been able to show. But as I say, the one thing they give us is 100% commitment. And it's been it's been an eye-opener for me because it's the first time I've ever been part-time. In the respect of that, I use the job as full-time. And the boys are in there, they come in right from work. And some of them are up at 6:30 in the morning, straight to, and then they're leaving us to about 10:30 at night. And as I say, I think you need to be a special type of character to be able to do that. And as I say, God willing, between now and the end of the season, we'll be able to prove that.
I tell you what, no wonder they're struggling if they're coming into 10:30 at night and then getting up and doing a job in the morning and back in at 2:30. They'll not get time to bloody sleep.
Well, that's right. We came back from Inverness last week, say we get in about 2:00, and then some of your boys were starting work at 6:30. You know, so, but also we went up to Inverness last year, and one of the boys at the phone said, "Gaff, is it okay if I meet you up there because I'm working after that?" I said, "Yeah, no problem, sir." So he's driven to meet us at the hotel at the time when you could go to the hotels and whatever. And after the game, I said, "You going to work now, son?" He says, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I got in at 4:30 this morning." How's this? So he got in at 4:30, goes to his bed, gets up at 9 to travel up to Inverness to get us for a meal, pre-match meal. Then straight after the game, he was driving back to go straight to work again. But as I say, 4:30 in the morning, you're thinking, then he's played 90 minutes for me in that period, you know. So it's a fantastic commitment to them, you know. And as I say, I just, God willing, you know, all the hard work McGrath we put in and they put in is worth it at the end up. It's been tough for them, as I say, for many different reasons, because you forget they're human beings.
See, that's what I was going to say to you, Peter. Is it enjoyable now?
Yeah, as you say, it's completely different. Even for me, I find it strange I'm not playing. It's easy for me, the manager. Sometimes I've got to have a reality check and say, this is what's going on. Because you just think football is completely different. It doesn't affect you. The landscape's changed for all our players. As I say, some of them working at home. Some of them are stuck in the house. The summertime is a bit easier because you kept in contact with them, but at least it was warm and sunny. You could go outside for an hour, a couple of hours, or whatever it was.
Aye.
Now it's pitch black when you get up in the morning. It's pitch black when go to work. They're coming in soaking. They're not allowed to shower after training. They're going straight into their car. So we'd end up getting simple things. We'd get 4 sets of kit because we're not allowed to wash their kit. They're not allowed to shower at the place. It's completely different. But at the end of the day, that's the same for everyone. But I don't when you use it as an excuse, but it's a fact. It's not an excuse. It's a fact. For everybody, it's the same. And it's not the same. And the biggest thing out of all, supporters.
Right, so Peter, both your boys play. Peter Junior's at Queen's Park, while your other boy Ray plays for you at Alloa.
Yeah.
Must be a wee bit awkward being his manager as well as his dad, is it not?
Yeah, it is, to be perfectly honest with you, for him as well. But I think that something I learned very early is, if it's the right person for the job, you do it. It wasn't my idea. When I came into Alloa as manager, they tried to sign him. Him and his brother, believe it or not, before I came here. But I said no. As soon as I took the job, that wasn't going to happen. And then in the summertime, the chairman came onto the phone to us and spoke about it, that the scouts and that had been on, saying, but we think the gaffer's missing a trick because Raymond's contract was up at Clyde. Believe it or not, I offered him less money than Clyde did. But he wanted an opportunity to try and move up the levels. At first, he said no. I must admit, I'll give him credit where credit's due. He said no, he thought it'd be too awkward, exactly what he said. But the one that probably swung it was the captain, Andy Graham, had phoned him because they'd been on to us and saying, why we've no signing Ray, whatever. And I thought, it's very, very difficult. I've never worked with him. I'm very harsh with him as a father. It's probably most fathers are, with their sons when they're growing up. It was probably Lorraine, as you say, taking him to all the games because I wasn't there for about 10 years, 12 years. I was working away from the house anyway, so I never got to see them growing up playing football. But I'd seen him quite a bit at Clyde. He'd done really good in Team of the Year, Division 2, Division 1, Team of the Year as well, 2 years, as I say, each year. So he progressed that way, and I just thought it'd suit the way we play. And I think that was the one thing I had to be convinced of. And then when the chairman phoned us and said, well, he thinks it would be remiss of us if we miss out on an opportunity to do it. But I should go ahead with it. But it was still soul-searching. Raymond wasn't, as I say, wasn't as keen as I was. He thought it was going to be awkward. But I think once Andy Graham, the captain, phoned him, I think he was put more at ease with that. But it is, there's no getting away from that. It is still difficult. Respect that because probably I'm overcritical, if I may say so, and that's probably what he's maybe found. But I think he's used to me being his dad.
Peter, I have to say, I support Falkirk and I watched him for Clyde. What a player he was.
No, he's a completely different for me. He's completely different. He's
I was going to say, he must get his talent off Lorraine.
He's a good left foot like Lorraine.
You were saying there that Alloa tried to sign the both your boys at the one time. It's not like a championship team to apply for grants, is it?
That's a good one. That's a belter.
We're off. That's us. We'll start it.
That's why you get a good wages too. You get what you pay for. Peter, what you making all Celtic this season, then? What's your thoughts?
Oh, it's been really tough. As you know what it's like. Listen, I think I was there at a tougher time.
I was going to say, does this remind you of the 90s a wee bit?
Oh,
yeah, but for a lot longer.
It's not even as close to the 90s, but it's not close to the 90s.
What do you mean? What do you mean? As in, right? Hold on. What do you mean? As in, it was a lot painful back then, or is this painful because the 10 in a row's been stopped? I generally don't know.
Well, obviously 10 you'd love to have won 10, 100%. You always like to be first at anything, so it'd be the first team to win 10 because the old Rangers won at 9 before.
The old Rangers, aye. This is it. We're going full save. Go. I'm into it. Come on, let's go.
That's it, Pierre. You're saying there that you always like to be the first. Steven Gerrard's the first manager to ever win the league for this team. So
listen,
that's fair dues, isn't it?
Hold on, wait there. No, you can cut this out the podcast if you think it's blasphemy, right? However, I've got a question for you, Peter. Right?
Yes.
And now, you're a fan, or as I say, you're a follower of Jesus Christ. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd like to say so.
Right, okay. Now, he died for our sins and he rose again. Is he still the same Jesus? Is he still the same Jesus?
But he suffered for us. He suffered for us. They brought on their own suffering. He didn't bring his own suffering on.
Jesus paid his taxes.
He paid his taxes. Too many. No, listen, when I was up there with Rangers, they were the better team, better players. There is absolutely no doubt of that, and they deserved it. Listen, we played really well over that 9-year period. There's a lot of Celtic Rangers games, you know yourself. We played really well, and they had an unbelievable team with fantastic players, with an unbelievable goalkeeper. The bottom line is Rangers could beat us 1-0. and we can play them off the pitch. And question that, I've said that many times, but listen, let's not get away from it. The bottom line is it's all about winning. When you play an Old Firm match, doesn't matter how you play, it's all about winning that particular game. And I'd again been absolutely hopeless in every one of them and won them all. So I have no qualms with that. At that particular time, Rangers were better than us. As I say, I go back to the fact when we get the stadium was 10 years ahead of us. So Celtic, all of a sudden, when Ferguson had taken over, it was about building a stadium. You know, we caught up very quickly, and that was always a concern when Rangers come back in to the Premiership, was the fact that it wouldn't take you a lot of money, because you have that. I always thought you could always attract people to Celtic Park. For me, because me being a Celtic player and a Celtic supporter, you could always attract people talking about the stadium, whatever. The old Celtic Park was phenomenal as well. I was fortunate enough to play in it. That was phenomenal to play in, you know. The atmosphere. I must admit, I loved the atmosphere at Ibrox when we had this part of the stand as well. You know, I thought the days were special. You know, I thought it's taking a wee bit, even though you're just behind the goals now. But if you remember, we'd have the main stand as well. That particular, it was phenomenal. The atmosphere. And I can honestly say with my hand on my heart, and I'm going to say that now, I've been doing England nearly 25 years now. Out with Manchester United, not one team has got the pressures of Celtic or Rangers. No, none. And I'm saying that, I wouldn't say that lightly, because it's like somebody asking me about an Old Firm game. What's it like to play an Old Firm game? I can't explain it, so that's impossible to explain. But don't talk to me about Chelsea, Tottenham, Liverpool slightly, maybe similar. But apart from they two teams, Man United, Liverpool, with the history and the traditions that they had, the pressures that go with Celtic and Rangers is very similar to the rest. The rest of them, Tottenham, Chelsea's not on the same planet. You know, when it comes to you're talking about Celtic and Rangers, it's just a party that, as you say, probably because you Scotland the league and that they're in. If Celtic and Rangers were down there for 4 or 5 years, I could guarantee my hand on my heart they'd be challenging for the league title. And I don't care what anybody says. Because they've already got the fan bases, they've already got all that in place. They don't need to go to Hong Kong to sell their shirts. They're already there anyway. You know, that's the difference. Whereas England,
that's sort of talking now, innit? Because Steven Gerrard going down to Liverpool, is he capable enough to be the manager? And this is all the talk about, well, really, he's managed Rangers, but the argument is there's, as you say, there's no teams like Rangers and Celtic where it is. It's, you know, a draw is a defeat. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's not good enough.
Listen, if you're second, you're last.
Aye.
It's as simple as that. If you're not first, you're last. And that's the bottom line of playing it. But also the pressures that go with it. You know, I must go back to the very first programme I ever saw it done it. If you remember, used to phone in Jimmy Sanderson, God rest him. And Jimmy used to say if there was a phone call on a Saturday night, the first question he would ask, caller was, were you at the match? And if you said no, he put the phone down. Thanks, caller, put the phone down. Not interested, because you can't have an opinion if you've never seen it.
Aye.
And that was the way it was. No guys are gaining an opinion. I've not even seen anything, but they maybe read somebody else has said something, so they're saying, "Oh, that must be right."
That's absolutely right. You're dead on when you say that. Everybody, so one person expresses an opinion, and everybody jumps on it and takes it as gospel. And
absolutely. And it can be one guy that gets, and he's maybe just in a bad day. I had a lot of bad days. So I had my head, it was hard enough for me. There was no social media. I used to get in and sit to 3 and 4 in the morning. I'll tell you, my Celtic suit on, my tie and all that. Even playing well and winning. I used to be sitting, it was a relief, because I knew I had to do it again on the Tuesday or the Saturday. It wasn't about resting, because, okay, we've won the day, I've played well the day, but I used to get in, by the time you wound down, it was ready to go again for the next game. And you would just put yourself under that amount of pressure all the time.
I say, you know, you touched on how you can't really describe the feeling in an Old Firm game, playing in one. But you had the pleasure of scoring in Old Firms, so it was at Ibrox too. At Ibrox too, my man. Right now, you had the good grace to celebrate in front of the Celtic fans. You blessed yourself, right, but you had the good grace to celebrate in front of the Celtic fans. Craig Bellamy done the same thing, but he done it in front of the Rangers fans and he got scalped in the head with a cup of cola. Right, so back in the day, it would have been bottles of Buckfast. Could you imagine what it would have been like if you'd have done that when you scored at Ibrox?
Well, but the funny thing was, so people keep saying that, I always claim the goal, because me and Terry's running back, Terry Butcher at the time, the twos have put a foot up at the time, you remember, it's tipped over for the goal. So, no preconceived or nothing. I just went straight down, obviously done what I did. And if you remember after that, that was the day the 3 guys get sent off, had been sent off and whatever. Terry, Chris and Frank.
And this was a game that Roberts went in goals.
That's right.
Roberts went in goals.
That's right. Nobody ever mentioned it, if you remember. Nobody mentioned Mines on the Saturday. None. Scottish Sport at that particular time on the Sunday showed me, because the camera seemingly was at the side of the goal, but caught me doing it. So on the Monday's newspapers, the story completely changed about the three guys. I was the one that should have went to prison.
Now, that's what I was going to say. The three of them ended up in court, right? They say that season they couldn't even beat us in court, Peter. Remember?
The only point we dropped that day. That's right. It was the only point we dropped in the full season against Rangers. But it was an equaliser late on, and Coyster always laughs about it, because if you remember, it was about 2-1. It was 2-1 to us late in the game, and the balls went by. They put it by, and the Rangers fans are giving me pelters, and I'm giving it the old 2-1 sign. You know what I mean? They take the by kick, don't they?
Except the two was round the other way, wasn't it?
They got the score for the by kick. Big Alan comes and does Superman, and it hits Goffey, I think, in the back, and goes in, and it made it 2-2. And Coyster always laughs because he said, "My best picture is you collapsing to the ground, you know, in the 18-yard box," because I was gone mental, you know. I'm thinking the game was finished. But they were the memories, because Coyster and Durante, who, for me, Durante would have been one of the best Scottish players ever. It was a crying shame. But a fantastic player. But they were really good players. But they were good friends of ours. We had a real rivalry, but we were teammates with Scotland at youth levels and whatever. We shared rooms with them. So they were fantastic boys, and we always had great appreciation of each other. But at that time, it was really difficult for us because we weren't as successful as Rangers. But people say to me, "Would you change it for anything?" I'd say, never in a million years. I'd go through all the suffering again, because that was my time, and that's what it was meant to be. I never ever celebrated beating Rangers on the pitch. Ever did I celebrate that. I'd always walk off, you know, in the respect to that, because I remember Rangers beat us 5. And I always remember, of course, you get a wee bit euphoric, but they never celebrated the way people get about now and go and do waves and that to the fans. Never in a million years would we have done that, because we knew in a couple of weeks' time we'd be playing them again. And in that particular one, we beat Rangers a couple of weeks later 3-0, you know, because you always know there's another game round the corner, and then Toom's never the same. So, but we always had that respect, but we'd never write a headline about Rangers. We'd never write a headline about anybody individually, as in what we'd say, "Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that." It was never about that, because there was an utmost respect for it, even though I loved beating Rangers. You know, that was magic. There was no a better feeling in my stomach, but I would never rub somebody's nose in it. And I know what I was representing. I was representing Celtic Football Club, of course I was, you know, and I was the happiest guy, like every supporter would be. But I'd never have rubbed it in their face, because I knew there was an opportunity for Rangers to kick me back in a couple of weeks' time, you know, so there was that respect there.
That's interesting, isn't it, too? I love that.
Plus, you never knew who was going to bump into in Coatbridge Asda.
Absolutely.
It feels as if it's worse now, but didn't it?
I mean, it is. Do you know what it is? You're absolutely right, Grado. It's like, I don't know what the script is, but I was saying on Celtic Daft last night, I'm never taking winning for granted ever again. Purely because of what I've seen. And like you said, Peter, it wasn't like that back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you know yourself, being a Coatbridge man, when Celtic won the league or anything like that, you couldn't get through the wifflet.
Yes.
Right? You couldn't get through the wifflet. It was chock-a-block, right? But even that doesn't happen now, doesn't it? Not, you know.
No. It's very, very difficult for everybody, because for us, it was, if you've got to go back, because 90% of particularly these boys were all brought up, or a big part of the team was brought up Celtic or Rangers.
Aye.
That was fact. And I think there was always a respect to, listen, I go back to, God rest him, just a period of time with Big Billy, whether it was Davey, it was a manager, you know, whether it was Tommy, you had Walter, you had Graham. There was always the utmost respect, you know, with each other. They never, ever, they always had utmost respect, but they also knew they're representing their club. You know what I mean? So you had to take some of them in the chin at times. For us, listen, look at the period I went through, how difficult it was. I was here when we lost 9 titles in the bounce, obviously. So it was really, really tough, and it was hard, and there was no getting away from that. And it took us to win a cup to get relief more than anything else. You know, that was all it was. It was relief. People said the tears at the end. No, the tears were just relief, because I thought playing with Celtic, you'd be able to win a trophy, at least one a season. You'd be able to do.
I've never seen anybody putting a shift in like the shift you put in that day at Hampden when we beat Airdrie for the Scottish Cup final. That's my first real memory is winning a trophy.
Yes.
and it's the first time that we won a trophy while I was in the stadium as well. I had been to the League Cup final at Ibrox earlier in the season, and obviously we had lost to Wraith Rovers on penalties. But winning the Scottish Cup final that season, like you say, it was such a relief.
Yes.
You know, and being a kid at the time as well, you know, I remember crying after the League Cup final. But I also remember crying after the Scottish Cup final as well. But it was obviously different tears. It was, like you say, tears of relief and tears of joy. But I don't think anybody that's got any sort of memory of that day would say that there was anybody on the park that played better than you that day, Peter. Honestly.
I was fortunate because I had good players, always had good players, and some I know at the standard of what was expected, but I can understand the reason why. The finances Celtic had at that particular time. But I was always thankful because, as I said to you, I was called a janitor for one reason. I like to be in first and last out because I knew one day it would end. But also
you also swept up all the shite, didn't you?
That's not a bad way to put it. But listen, I knew my strengths in respect to that. You know, mine was to win the ball back and get to the good players. I always said. So I wanted to be the best at doing that. So that was the way I wanted to play. And in respect to getting to I missed the Wraith Rovers game because I was suspended. And I know the hurt it went through us all at that particular time. And if there was one guy in this earth I would have picked not to miss that penalty, please not make it be Paul, because he was such a special talent, special guy, my roommate for nearly 14, 15 years. So that was one guy I didn't want that to happen to. But as you show, it shows a different resilience. We get to the cup final. So on that particular time, there was more pressure, and it was a really difficult game because Airdrie were a tough side, you know, Alex McDonald and the manager, and they were a real tough time with good players, a tough side with good players. I mean, it was going to be a tough game, but the pressure it was on us was unbelievable. And as I said, we won the game. It was a really poor cup final, and I remember half the supporters were getting in and out the stadium because they couldn't watch the last 5 minutes. I think, you know, it was really difficult for them. So the relief when the final whistle went just to make the had won a game was incredible. So I can understand the euphoria the Rangers fans at this minute. To have no qualms with that. We love celebrating our teams winning and victories. Yes, it hurts us at this moment in time, of course. But the good thing about this is it's how you respond, and it always has been how you respond, and that's what you've got to do, and that's football. You know, results, we can win one week, lose next week. Does that change everything? No, but you've got to have a focus in saying Celtic are always judged to be number one, nothing else. That's all they've got to be judged on, and Rangers are the exact same. That's what they've got to be judged on.
Now, I need to touch on that again, the 1995 Cup final, because Grado is a huge Rangers fan, right? Huge Rangers fan. Right, his favourite player growing up.
Oh, fuck, here we go.
Right?
Right.
Scored the goal that day, right? Big Pierre was Grado's favourite player when he was a kid, right?
No, right.
Tell us about Big Pierre. What was Big Pierre like?
How would you go tell us what he was like?
He was a fantastic boy, but typical Dutch. He invented football. You know, everybody else was poor, and he was he was brilliant. You know, but a talented boy. He's a harmless shot. I know George Albert's not, but Van Hooydonk was unbelievable power. You know, great free kick taker. What I loved about him, he did have that Dutch arrogance. You know, he believed he was better than what he was, and that's why he's achieved in his career what he did, because he had that inner belief that he was better than everybody else. You know, whether he was or not, that's for everybody else to judge. But I got on fantastically well. He was a real talented boy. He would never achieve what he achieved in the game. You know, the national team and back in Holland and that, and Turkey and whatever, if he'd never had the talent. But I think his biggest talent was the unquenchable belief he had in himself.
Do you think if Farry hadn't have been involved with Cadet, we would have stopped 9 in a row?
I'll tell you what, I keep getting back to it. The biggest cause for 9 in a row happening for Rangers was us losing Mo Johnston to them. I keep saying it. Forget everything else. We should have went anywhere but Rangers.
Peter, tell me about that day that you found out. This is interesting. I love this.
It was really strange because we got to the cup final. We beat Rangers 1-0 in the cup final. We Joe Miller. Bo's sitting next to me on the bus going down, so everything's been agreed. He said, but I've just no signed the paperwork. So I'm in the Scotland squad we're going to play England and Chile in the Rouse Cup. So on the Sunday we meet up to, I can't remember if it was Turnberry or something like that. And on the Monday, Big Billy comes down, God rest him, to see Mo. And I'm thinking, well, everything's done. It's just a matter of finishing the paperwork or whatever off. And then we're going to training, and Coisty and Mo are sitting with us on the bus, and he's turning and said, "Oh, wee man, we're going to terrorise you next year," Coisty's saying. And I'm thinking, right, laughing. And I said, aye, we're going to be doing that, but you don't worry about that. And he says, no, wee man's coming to us. Aye, okay, all the best. And then, sure as fate. But it was funny, because when I was at the hotel, I seen Big Billy stomping out, and Big Billy did an unbelievable walk, his chest out, and that was the way he walked anyway, but I could see there was something not right. Maybe my Mo says to his later, I'm going to sign with Rangers, wee man. I just could not believe it.
Did you start on him? What did you say to him?
Well, that's why I never spoke to him, and I don't mean I didn't speak to him. I butchered him a few times when we played against him just after that, but
aye.
I was close to Mo and that. We had a great dressing room, as I say to you, with these boys. But he was an unbelievable player. He was irreplaceable at that particular time, and I don't care how much it cost Celtic. Celtic, if it's Rangers you're going to lose at me, give him what he's looking for. Pay what you've got to pay. You cannot lose at me, Rangers, And I was led to believe that it happened just after we beat them 1-0 that day. But that's when they said they're going to push the boat to try and stop that happening. And that's exactly what happened. But Celtic should never allowed it to happen. And I still say to this day, forget everything else, forget lack of quality, no money, whatever. There is no doubt in my mind, if Mo Johnson would have signed with us, there's no way Rangers would have won 9 in a row. I can guarantee that. Because he'd have scored goals in games and winners that have made us win trophies or win leagues at particular times. And we never replaced Mo Johnson at that particular time.
It's not just that either. He wouldn't have been there to score the winners that he scored for them either.
Absolutely. The people don't realise how good a player he was. How good a finisher he was. He was unbelievable. As good a finisher as you'll see in that 6-yard box. All types of finish, good in the air. But he had an unbelievable belief. And I think you're playing with a Celtic, a Rangers. These are the sort of players who grow it. As I talk about Decanio, you talk about Van Hooijdonk. You talk about these guys who sort of, okay, the fans are there. Oh, this is my stage. This is my stage. And Mo was one of them. He could produce in the big games. And there's no doubt in my mind that was the biggest thing for me, that losing Mo cost us 9.
So we went for, you were there throughout the whole of the Rangers 9 in a row. The season that you leave Celtic, we stopped the 10. Do you think that you were to blame for them getting the 9?
Absolutely. Mo no signer than me being there. Listen, but it was a fantastic. Listen, I was very, very fortunate. I'd signed for Norwich, and our season had finished the week prior, so I was able to go up to the game at home to win the title, obviously. And I was sitting there, and I've never been prouder, I must admit. It was fantastic to see them back winning again, winning the title, more importantly. Also, to stop Rangers was obviously an extra bonus, but just to see Celtic win the league again, and as I say, it was a fantastic feeling, and I was emotional that day as if I was playing with them. It meant so much to me, even though I wasn't part of it anymore. But I know the suffering I went through, so it was fantastic to see the way the supporters were. Because if you remember, we go back to '88. If you remember Celtic Park that day when they were all sitting in the pylons, the old Celtic Park right round the Ash Park, right, the Ash used to be around it, they were all round this. And then today's attendance is 12,000 or something, when there was about 80 on, so they used to say Big Desmond used to keep hiding the money, but that's what it was, as you said. It was phenomenal. So you get back to that feeling, the euphoria. And I remember getting into the car to go back to Glasgow, and Big Ewan Roberts, who played Norwich Wales, Big Ewan played with Norwich, he was up with us. And I swear to God, it was, the guys that do the coughing on these TikTok things. I was like, I was like that in my car back into the town. They lift the car there off into the town, walking with my hand. I was going about 3 miles all the way from Celtic Park back into Glasgow City because they were on top of the car, celebrating, pulling me out the car, and I wasn't even playing there.
It was being Sunday.
Aye, but the only thing is, it was the old Rangers he was carrying in a coffin.
Exactly, but that's what it was, and that's what much it means to the supporters. And listen, Glasgow and Scotland, we get a lot of kicks in that, but listen, when you've me, I can only say it from the Celtic point of view because that's who I represented, but I know how much it means to them.
So we'll move on to your time in management then, Peter. So what led to you getting into the management game?
The biggest thing was, as a player, I knew everybody's job. As you know, as Peter the Pointer, I was always talking to people to go there, or pointing to go there. I knew my strengths and I knew my weaknesses. That was probably the biggest thing I knew. but I knew the outside left's job and I knew the right back's job, because then the information I could give them on the pitch, I knew that's what we were doing. So I was very much clued into listening to everything the manager says or what that position entailed. So in our particular team, I didn't want to be going and running pubs or anything like that. And I was not against that, because that wasn't me. I wasn't
that was Toll's job. He runs all the pubs run about your right, is he not?
But that's what I'm saying. But as I say, it was for us. But I always wanted to keep in the game, because I knew I'd missed the dressing room. There's absolutely no doubt that I can't replace that. I can't replace the feeling. So once you stop playing in the football legs going with respect to that, I always wanted to be involved in the dressing room banter. It was on the dressing room, because I thought it was irreplaceable. I was fortunate enough to learn that very, very early, that it's different. Football dressing rooms are different, compared to a lot of tears in there behind closed doors. There's been a lot of happiness. There's been a lot of fights. But when you come out the dressing room, that was it. It was forgot about, I don't think you can get that in the workplace, because you can't go and smash somebody when you're working in an office. You're finished. The amount of fights I've seen in dressing rooms and before, you used to share the big baths and all that, and you'd be lifting somebody's hair off your hair. By the time they'd shaved the big bath, you were sitting having a bottle of beer after the game. You'd all that. But I mean, the bottle of beer came after fisticuffs. But nobody ever left the dressing room with that bad feeling. It was taken out there and then, and that was it, finished. We'd be sitting around the corner in a pub having a beer together, sitting in the bath, as I say, the bath, having a beer together, and you forgot about. But you had your opinion, and it was said there and then. If you take anything any further, you were finished with the group. Really? So it was something I learned, and it was something that I always thought I would miss. So I started doing my coaching badges. So I'd done all my coaching badges in Scotland, done all my coaching badges in England, because I thought that was important. You've done up your pro license and your youth license, you've done all them. And it's something I love. I love the environment of football, I love talking about it. I loved playing it. I just think it's, for me, I find it very difficult if I could to replace it with anything else. I love my family to bits, and the most important thing in my life, but football's a very close second.
That's it. But I always say this about people that come through, like as coaches, assistant managers, and so on. You've done a great apprenticeship. Now, you worked at West Ham with Alan Pardew, and what was it like leading the team out at Wembley?
It was phenomenal. I mean, I was very fortunate. My coaching started at Bournemouth, and we won. We beat Lincoln 5-2. We got promoted, and they got voted the best performance of the year, including the Premier League. We played exceptionally well. So even going for Bournemouth, we'd got the promotion there at the playoffs. I'd been to 5 playoffs in 5 years. We'd one of the poorest performances with West Ham. We lost to Crystal Palace 1-0, but we were really poor on the day, and us as our coaching staff made wrong decisions. And then the following year, we beat Preston 1-0, which was a phenomenal feeling with some exceptional players. I've been very fortunate to involve, as I say, get back to the likes of Tevez, Mascherano coming at West Ham at that particular time. I had the likes of Sheringham, Bobby Zamora, Michael Carrick, who was world class. People talk about all the different players, but Michael Carrick was world class. And I was very, very fortunate to work with all of them at West Ham. We got West Ham promoted. As you say, you get to the FA Cup final. And I still think we lost 3-2, don't get me wrong. But Stephen obviously scored 2, 94th minute, equalises in the 94th. It's went up, sorry. Fourth officials put it up saying 4 minutes to go, and Stephen strikes the one, if you remember, the drive into the corner. Nice. And that makes it, I think it made it 2-2. And then we go 3-2 in front, 3-3, and then losing penalty kicks. But it was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. We qualified for Europe. Then when I left to go to Norwich as manager, I loved it. Fantastic people. Delia Smith and that were magnificent. Her and her husband, Michael Wynne-Jones.
Did she ever make you dinner?
Yes, but it was Michael. But it was Michael that makes the dinner.
Is it?
That happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, Michael makes the dinner. But Delia was a phenomenal person. Honestly, I couldn't ask for 2 better people to work for. They were incredible. I loved every moment of it. But I just got to a stage. I remember Sir Alex said to us when I got the job, he said, "Fantastic job, son." He said, "But a very difficult job." He said, "Could you like to go and watch football?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "But where Norwich is based, you'll not be able to do that." But me, I can. I'm manager, first job. I'm travelling, so I'm getting in at 6:30 in the morning to go to the gym. So you're finished for the boys coming in, then you go and do your work, then you go, and then I was travelling away at 3 o'clock to watch games and whatever. Within that year, I felt as if my focus wasn't the same. I was really, really tired. nearly crashed the car twice on the motorway, falling asleep because you're so tired. All these sort, and I had 2 young boys and a lovely wife, Lorraine. And I'm thinking, this is not for me. I've had enough. And I went in to see them, and they refused to accept my resignation. And I said, no, I need to do it. If you don't accept it, I'm going to just go to the television and tell them I've resigned anyway. And they were unbelievable. They said, just take a few days off. But I just felt at that particular time. But don't get me wrong, 2 days later, it was the biggest mistake I made. You know, it was the biggest mistake I made. But I went back in as an assistant manager elsewhere. We had a fantastic time to work with Big Alex at Birmingham, won the cup against Arsenal, obviously. So that was phenomenal. So to get to the FA Cup final, lose it, get to the League Cup final, win it, you know, I've been fortunate enough to do that in England. Won playoffs, lost. I think I've won, lost 1 playoff, won 2. You know, so three playoffs, 2 cup finals. People had said that to me that happened when I was leaving Scotland to go down and do my coach. I'd never thought in a million years. But then you had an opportunity to come to Celtic, and I must admit, after a couple of days, I thought it was a bust decision, even though it was my club and I loved it to bits. But I wanted people to respect I was coming back. I didn't want to be treated like Peter Grant, the player again. Not with the supporters, but with the club. And I felt I was treated as if, well, Peter wanted to come back here because it's Celtic. But listen, look at my CV. Look what I've done. Look what I've went away and worked at. So I wanted to come back as, well, he's a very good coach or whatever. He's good, very excellent at his job. And I wanted that to be shown. When I started speaking of the contract to come, some things hadn't changed. It was going to go back to Peter Grant. Nobody looked after as well as everybody else. And that really did stick with me because if you know before the Bosman ruling came in, I'd done 14 months to months contract because Celtic were asking too much money. They owned my contract, which was fine. I loved playing at Celtic. I loved every moment of it. But I was asking for nothing. Then 14 months later, they say to me, yeah, he was underpaid and gave me the money I was asking for. And I just felt I didn't want to get back to that again. So I wanted to be respected. And I didn't feel that happened. And, you know, as a supporter, I wasn't Peter Grant on the side of the pitch because I didn't want to be the supporter jumping about like a maniac.
That clouds your judgment as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. And I didn't want to be that. People say, oh, Peter Grant's not showing that passion he showed as a player. Yeah, but I've got to look at it completely different. The still hurt and the feeling I had. And as I said, see if we'd have been exceptional and we lost the way we did to St Mirren, we should have been sacked anyway. I have no problem with that whatsoever. You know, I had no problem with that whatsoever. We lost to St Mirren the way we did. That one performance, if they got us a sack, I'd accepted that. But there's a lot of different things going on at that particular time, which was wrong, completely wrong. And they know about it because I wasn't long in telling them. And as I say, it sounds crazy because I love the club, as you know, as the way I do. But at that particular time, I couldn't get it quick enough.
That's a brilliant story, by the way. I've totally enjoyed myself. Would you mind just another 2 minutes? We do a 90-second football quiz every week. So what we do is every week in Football Daft, we put our guests Scottish football knowledge to the test with our 90-second quiz. So top of the leaderboard, we've got John Sutton. He's up there with Chick Young. The two of them have got 15. Mark Wilson, Keith Lasley. Aye, listen,
but they've all been here that last 25 years. I've been away for 25.
Well, I'm looking at questions, and there's a couple of English questions.
Some I should know.
Hold on, Pierre, I'll text you the answers. Right?
I want to win. I told you.
Right, well, we've got Mark Wilson, Lasley there at 14, Kenny Duker and Kevin Harper are in 13 points. Other selected scores, Murdo McLeod's got 10. John Hartson's got 7.5. Yogi's on 6. And it's a tie.
I've got to beat Yogi. To beat Yogi.
Well, he's on 6. He's on 6. So there's 90 seconds on the clock. You can't pass it. You have to give an answer.
Oh, you watched me playing then, did you?
Now listen, you don't need to give the correct answer. Just give any answer at all.
Right. Okay.
Right, we're ready. John, is there 90 seconds on the clock? Let's go. Celtic's Jack Hendry is on loan in which country?
Belgium, Ostend.
Which club was Andy Robertson with between Dundee United and Liverpool?
Hull.
Which Scottish champion side is Jason Cummings playing for?
Dundee.
In what year did you win the Scottish Youth Cup?
1982.
How many teams play in Scottish League One?
10.
Who is Hibs' top scorer this season?
Deutsch.
What type of animal is St Mirren's mascot?
Cat.
What was the score in your testimonial match against Bayern Munich?
2-1 loss.
What nationality is Aberdeen's Ryan Hedges?
Welsh.
Who did Rangers sign Ryan Jack from?
Aberdeen.
Which English Premier League team does Scotland defender Liam Cooper play for?
Leeds.
Which manager signed you for Norwich?
Mike Walker.
Who's the only current Celtic squad member with an X in his name?
Javi.
Airdries Thomas Ribert is the son of which French international?
Mr. Robert.
Who's the highest selling player Celtic have ever sold?
Kieran Tierney.
Who was the Alloa manager before you?
Jim Goodwin.
Name either Stephen, John and Paul McGinn. Sorry. Name either team Stephen, John and Paul McGinn have all played for.
Hibs.
Who's the only person to win the Scottish Premiership Player of the Month twice this season?
Time!
Does he get the answer?
You can answer that one, Peter.
I'll go Ryan Kent.
Right.
Oh!
By the way.
But it's close, by the way.
Oh, man, so close.
That is, isn't it?
So close.
What we're looking at here, John.
Right, well, we'll go through the wrong answers for you, Peter. You didn't. The first one you slipped up. The year you won the Scottish Youth Cup was 83-84 season. So 1984. Hibs top scorer this.
By the way, Rangers beat Rangers.
Yeah, get that in. Hibs top scorer is Kevin Nisbet this season at the moment. Yeah. Paisley Panda, St Mirren's mascot, not Paisley Cats. Diego Laxa, not Xavi, is the only person member of the Celtic squad with an X in their name. And do you know what I gave you? You said Mr. Robert. It's factually correct. It's Lauren Robert's son that plays for Airdrie, Thomas Robert.
On his way to Celtic, apparently.
Apparently so. And it was James Tavernier that was.
Tavernier. That was, yes.
Tavernier. So that was. But I tell you what, you've done all right. You're joint third with Kenny Duker and Kevin Harper on 13.
Well, that's all right. As long as I beat Yogi. As long as I beat Yogi.
Brilliant. There you go. That's right up there, isn't it, John?
That's without cheating. That's without cheating.
By the way, that's him down in England too. Imagine if he was living up here.
Exactly, man.
William, Peter, thanks very much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, guys. Obviously. No problem.
Mate, do you know what? This has not been as painful an experience as I thought it was going to be.
See, it's actually, you know what I'm like when I get nervous when we all kind of start arguing or we start getting too tight on each other. See, it's maybe a blessing the sky Bob is away the day, because I mean, you know, you can me, I can get tore in, but Bob just goes right
Mate,
for it.
See, in the group chat, he's no gave me a fucking minute.
He's not, has he?
He's not gave me a minute. Every 2 minutes I'm on and it's some sort of video of Rangers fans or fucking
Adrian Durham on Talk Sport burying everybody.
I know, Adrian Durham. I'd like to fucking bury him. You know
but next week, but I'm sure he'll make up for his.
Oh, I am not on next week. I've got a doctor's appointment that day. Washing my hair.
Anyway, Chris, what are you getting up to this weekend? I don't know if you know this, however, lockdown restrictions. 4 people from 2 different households can go out everybody's back door, so there could be barbecues. I don't know. I know that we're condoning it.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I need to get this out there. It's actually my missus's dad, my what would you say, my father-in-law in waiting. Davey Bremner. It's his birthday the day as we're recording, so we're going to go down and see him. Because obviously the COVID restrictions have been lifted. So we're going to go and see him, give him his birthday present. We're also going, I've got ICW on Saturday. We're filming every week now. So thank Christ, you know, I'm getting out of the house a wee bit more. I'm feeling a wee bit better about things, and hopefully...
Aye, all right, mate, calm down.
All right, sorry.
Hashtag pray for Toll here, man. Come on.
Listen, you fucking asked me, all right, you prick.
I'm babbling up. John, what about your weekend? How does it look, my friend?
Still waiting for the football to come back. So a couple of weeks to go until then. So it's just another weekend of just doing the stuff that I've done every other weekend.
Absolutely, fuck all. Anyway, everybody, it's been great having you on the show. We'll see you next week. We've been Football Daft, and you've been the best podcast audience around in Scottish podcasting history. See, I hate doing this.